Hello everyone, this is part 22 of What If Naruto Was Like Edward Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Stone me be crows my aching head, am I alive or am I S? Akiza's eyes opened to a blinding white light that forced her to clench her eyes shut again for a moment so that she could adjust. She looked around to realize she was in a hotel room. What the hell? She felt the pain in her body from the previous battle, but when she lifted the covers to check, she saw she had been patched up. At this moment she took notice of a few things. Her hair was down and she was in completely different clothes than she had blacked out in. I.e., a long t-shirt and panties. Whoever did the work on her did a job, because she could feel that the slightest movement could reopen her chaise. She was not alone in the bed. She realized that Naruto was right next to her and was shirtless. Choking down her embarrassment at the moment she tried waking him up. Fullmetal. Nothing. Fullmetal, wake up. Nothing. Goddamn it, Fullmetal. We are in unfamiliar territory right now. I'm hurt, you're hurt, and this is awkward. I'll be damned if I'm the only one conscious for this. Naruto slowly began to stir and opened his eyes with a yawn. He turned over towards Akiza and allowed his eyes to focus. Akiza, goddamn, it's bright in here. Oh yes. Akiza gave him a dry look. Yes, Fullmetal, we're S. They ran out of beds in heaven, so they made us share this one. Naruto looked confused. Really? They both blushed brightly and broke apart when Naruto realized who was there. Ero-sennin. You saved us. Jiraiya nodded, his wide grin still in place on his face. Yep, I sure did, brat. What would you do without me? He looked them both over. So how are you two feeling now? Naruto and Akiza looked at their wounds appraisingly. My C is tight. My torso feels stiff and rigid. They both answered in unison. You did a job. Jiraiya's face fell at hearing their dual proclamations. Hey, damn it. I did the best I could. I'm no medical ninja here. Who do you want sooned? Akiza's face went thoughtful for a second. You saved us, so did you see the fight? Jiraiya nodded. Yes, I did. You two did a great job. Kushina was quite a powerful ninja when she was alive. I can only imagine how the fight was when she was S. Akiza nodded. Aha, sir, could you come over here for a moment if it isn't too much trouble? She asked Jiraiya sweetly. He walked over to her and looked down on the bed. What's the matter, sweetheart? Are you in pain? Akiza shook her head. No, and proceeded to press her elbow between his legs hard. As he dropped to his knees he wheezed out, why? Akiza sneered at him and shoved him over onto the floor. You saw us fighting? Fullmetal said you were strong, and you didn't help us. Jiraiya crawled away and pulled himself upright with the help of a dresser. Hey, didn't he tell you I was supposed to be leaving him to his own devices for 6 months? He dug that hole himself. It would have been unethical for the lesson if I had jumped in and fought his battle for him. Akiza threw the clock by the bed at him. He said 6 months was over weeks ago. 6 months were over when he fought me. What the hell took so long to find him? It's not like he was keeping a low profile. I found him in days. Jiraiya looked at her sheepishly. Well, you see, I kind of got caught up with my research in Kase no Kuni, so I was kind of held up from catching the kid sooner. Jiraiya looked at the downcast look on Naruto's face. The kid must be down because he just remembered he fought his mom to the death the other day. Jiraiya made a motion to move towards Naruto. Hey Gaki, are you going to be okay? Naruto spoke up in a strained voice. Ero-sennin, could you come here for me? Jiraiya nodded and made his way to Naruto's bedside. Are you alright, Naruto? Naruto shook his head as a sadistic tint came over his eyes. Naruto punched Jiraiya in the balls with his auto-mail arm and his head into the nightstand repeatedly before finally dropping him. Jiraiya shakily stood back up when Akiza pelted him with the lamp on her nightstand. What is wrong with you two brats? Naruto gave him a hard look. You watched me fight my mother to the death. You undressed her and saw her, you pervert. You undressed me and saw me. You pervert. Akiza summoned her Naginator and threw it at Jiraiya, who deftly dodged as it deposited itself into the wall and shot her ass-eating grin. Mayor whatever. You're too young. I've seen better than you anyway. He noticed the fuming look on her face. What you gonna do about it now, lowly? You're out of stuff to throw. His answer was a screaming blonde boy sailing at his head from across the room. Akiza glared at Jiraiya dangerously. Lowly, that you dirty old piece of s. Picking himself off of Jiraiya holding his C, Naruto stomped back over to the bed and got in. I'm still hurt, B. Akiza stuck her tongue out at him. Why did you get back into this bed? That one's open. Naruto shrugged and pulled the covers back up to his N. It's warm in this one. We've already been in it for who knows how long, so who cares at this point? You've both been out of it for 3 days. Jiraiya stood back up, rubbing his head, and sat down on the other bed. Never thought I'd see the day that the Gaki here would go down for any longer than a day. Naruto crossed his arms and looked away. Well, when your Karsan su in the sea, kicks your and then you be out on a beach, it's kind of hard to get that extra oomph to get up in the morning. Jiraiya nodded solemnly but then smirked. Are you sure you just didn't like the feeling of cozying up to your girl for 3 days? Naruto glared at him. I will transmute some wooden kunai from this nightstand for her to throw at you. My arms still work just fine. Jiraiya waved him off. So who is she anyway? She seems way too strong to just be some wandering ninja. Naruto looked at Akiza, who nodded her consent. Okay, Ero Sennin, calm down and listen to me completely. Talk when I'm done, alright? Jiraiya nodded. This is Akiza Tamagawa. She is. Akiza elbowed him in the back, was a Junin from Iwagakure, and she tried to K me twice. Akiza rolled her eyes when Naruto finished his base introduction of her. Jiraiya was about to spout off when a sharp gaze from Naruto calmed him down. After the last time she told me she could never return until she K me. I asked her what she had keeping her tied to that place. There wasn't anything, and that basically gave her permission to go off on her own, seeing as how they for all intents and purposes kicked her out. Jiraiya stroked his chin. A little girl like you, a Junin, huh? That Onoki always was a right bastard. Akiza nodded as Naruto continued. Apparently, seeing as how my being so undeniably awesome was the entire reason behind it, she decided to tag along with me for a while. I don't really have any problems with it, and I know from personal experience how much she can kick, because it was usually mine. Akiza smiled brightly at that. Jiraiya gave her a hard look that she kind of shied away from. Do you know who I am, girl? She shook her head. No, Fullmetal always called you Ero Sennin. Jiraiya almost face fell, but he caught himself and recovered with a smile before proceeding to give his long blown-up introduction. After he was done, they sat in silence. Jiraiya still in his pose, Naruto holding his face in his hand and shaking his head, and Akiza looking on wide-eyed. Akiza lifted her hand and pointed at Jiraiya. You're Jiraiya of the Densetsu no Sannin. The legendary Gama Sennin of Konoha. Jiraiya nodded proudly as Akiza's eyes widened even more. Why are you not K-me right now? I just told you I was from Iwagakure. Jiraiya waved it off. Bah, you're too young to be any sort of knowledgeable about the last war. Nationalities don't concern me, and if the brat trusts you, then I guess I have to give you a shot, won't I? Naruto's eyes lit up. You mean you're actually going to teach me something instead of dropping me alone, thus ending up with me fighting cages and Iwa ninja with attitude problems? Hey, Akiza crossed her arms across her sea. I saved you from death by impalement. You could at least be nice to me. Naruto looked back at her. And you could call me by my name instead of just Fullmetal. XXX. Over the course of the next couple of nights, Naruto couldn't sleep. During the day he got by off of short naps interrupted by either Jiraiya or Akiza doing something to wake him up. They didn't know he hadn't really been sleeping, or they might have let him lie. Whenever he tried sleeping at night, he always had the same visions of his fight with his mother, and how he ended her life, was what stuck out the most. Once again Naruto was awoken from his sleep. He took great care to exit the bed softly because he was still sharing with Akiza, seeing as how Jiraiya had taken the other. He looked and saw Jiraiya was not in his own bed. Figures, he probably hit the bars the second we fell asleep. Naruto sighed and walked across the room to the window to open it and leave through. He jumped through the open window and landed on the rooftop, where he found an unlikely person to share the roof with. Jiraiya raised his hand in a friendly wave as he noticed his apprentice up there with him. Hey Gaki, couldn't sleep, huh? Naruto saw him holding a bottle of sake and sat down nearby. Nah, not really. Getting drunk on the roof. Aren't taverns for that kind of thing? Jiraiya filled his bowl and tossed it back quickly. Sometimes you've just got to do some things alone, kid. So what's been bothering you? Naruto gave a sad smile. It's noticeable, huh? He scratched the back of his head. So how long could you tell I was upset? Jiraiya snorted and took a sip of sake. Since the second you knew I had seen the fight. That look on your face showed too much real emotion. You were legitimately pissed at me. And truthfully, I don't blame you. But kid, I really thought I was doing the right thing. Naruto scoffed and looked at the large man. The right thing. Fighting my mom was the right thing. Are you kidding me? Jiraiya shook his head. No, I'm serious. Kid, in this life you're going to end up doing some very hard things. Imagine having to kill your best friend, someone you grew up with, shared be with, and grew to know almost like you were family. He shook his head. Things like that are commonplace in our world. You proved that you can move past something like that. You fought your own mother the way you were supposed to. It was meant to be a lesson, it was a sucky lesson, but for a kid like you it was one that had to be taught. He motioned for Naruto to come closer, and when Naruto sat by him he continued, kid, bad situations flock to you like no one I've ever met before. It's amazing how much you actually get into, intentional or not. In 6 months you got involved in Kiri's civil war and their cage, you got even more on Iwa's radar, fought off an A, turned Seda to your side, fought your own mother, and had S with the aforementioned A. Naruto nodded until he finished. Wait, are you mental? I didn't have S with her. And she still hates me. Jiraiya shook his head and ruffled Naruto's hair. Oh Gaki, don't you know anything? She acts like she hates you, yet she still spends time with you when she doesn't have to. And I know you didn't have S with her. I'm just accounting for future events. Naruto blushed as he heard Kyuubi agreeing in his head. Is that all you can talk about? We were having a serious conversation here. Jiraiya chuckled darkly. It's only a matter of time, brat. He dodged a swing from Naruto and made his way to the edge of the rooftop before Naruto's voice stopped him. Wait, Ero Sennin. Before we left Konoha you said you had something you needed to tell me. Well, I'm all ears. Jiraiya slowly turned back around. Do you really want to do this here, kid? Naruto nodded as Jiraiya sighed at his action. Is this really the time for it? Naruto growled. You said you'd tell me when we got out on the road. You ducked the question until you could ditch me. Now you're answering this question or I'm going to torment you until you do. Jiraiya shook his head and sat back down on the roof. Okay kid, I'll ask that you shut up until I'm done. This is kind of a big deal. And this is going to take a while. Naruto shrugged. It's not like I'm getting sleep these days anyway. Let's do this. The next day, on the road to Hai no Kuni, Akiza noticed the tension between Naruto and Jiraiya. She also noticed the lovely little shiner and fat-lipped Jiraiya was sporting as well. When she asked him about it he responded, fell down some stairs. You kids watch where you get drunk. Naruto snorted loudly and averted his gaze from them both soon thereafter. Akiza sidled up to Naruto as his scowl was replaced by a look of curiosity. Akiza. What's the matter? Is something wrong? You tell me. Akiza looked over at Jiraiya and resumed her eye contact with Naruto. You two have been frigid ever since we left this morning. What happened last night? You seemed upset when you came in. Naruto looked at her apologetically. I woke you up last night. I'm sorry. It's a long story and I'm not sure I should tell it yet. He doesn't quite trust me yet, huh? Akiza shook her head dismissively. It's okay, Fullmetal. We all have our secrets. I just hope you can tell me soon. I'm not going anywhere for a while, you know. Naruto gave her a short glance before turning back to the road. Maybe, although when you find out, how would you feel then? Akiza knew she wouldn't get anything more from him, so she walked forward to Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sama. What's wrong with Naruto? He looks like someone kicked his puppy or something. Jiraiya looked down at her. Well, it's not really something he's much at liberty to talk about. It's kind of a big-time village secret and you really aren't from our village. Having the information in question floating around the elemental nations wouldn't really be good for his health, if you know what I'm saying. She frowned but nodded. I guess so. Fullmetal has enough problems as it is without putting himself on the world stage even more than he is now. Jiraiya smiled slightly. Glad you see it my way. Anyway, like Naruto said, you're free to accompany us as far as you wish, but we won't be going anywhere near Iwa for obvious reasons. If you ask, I can teach you some things, but I can't show you too much. I'm here to train the Gaki after all. Akiza smiled brightly. I don't care about Iwa, I can't go back anyway unless I K Fullmetal, but I don't see a reason to, he's too nice. And if you're willing to help me get stronger then of course I'll stay for as long as I can. Good. Jiraiya gazed back out onto the road ahead. We're going to root down soon so that I can start teaching the kid. He looked back at the scowling Naruto. Is it just me or is he bigger than he was 6 months ago? Akiza nodded. I noticed that too. I fought him 7 months ago and when I saw him again he looked like a growth spurt hit him or something. He wouldn't say anything about it though so I let it drop. Jiraiya's face looked serious. It must be the QB supercharging his system. He took a look at Naruto and noted he had grown almost a head taller since before. In addition to that his clothes seemed somewhat tighter and he had ditched the cloak, seeing as it was hot today, probably going to have to buy him some new gear soon. Naruto took note of Jiraiya looking at him and smirked. What? I know my whisker marks are S and everything but I'd rather Akiza admired them and not Uero Sennin. Akiza whirled around quickly, as if Fullmetal. I go for more grown-up types. The whiskers make you look like you got lost in a face-painting tent. Naruto gave her a cheeky grin that made her scoff and turn around. Naruto shrugged and moved up closer to them, deciding it was time to bury the hatchet here. He spoke to Jiraiya. Hey Ero Sennin. Jiraiya looked legitimately surprised that Naruto was speaking to him so soon after the night before. You said you were going to start my training. So what are we going to be working on? Jiraiya grinned. Well you can utilize your special chakra to an effective level, and you have Rasengan down to a science. Akiza interjected. So what about his taijutsu? Before Naruto could take a shot at her Jiraiya spoke again. He already had good taijutsu. The only knock against him before was that he was too short and small to use it effectively on most enemies. When he fought people his own size he usually beat the crap out of them. When you fought people older and bigger than you had to keep your distance mostly. I know because I saw you fight the Hyuga kid at the Chunin exams. Good on you by the way. Naruto grinned sheepishly until he asked a question. Well, what are we going to do then? Are you going to teach me another kick a jutsu like Rasengan? Jiraiya shook his head. We're going to be getting you to develop your elemental affinity kid. Elemental wa. Naruto was drawing a blank in that department. Akiza looked at his disbelievingly. Are you kidding? You don't know your affinity. Geez Fullmetal your Junin sensei must have sucked. Naruto kicked a rock in the road. Well Kakashi wasn't much of a teacher I'll tell you that. Jiraiya handed a slip of paper to both Naruto and Akiza. Well then little missy, if you know about affinities then you can explain them to our brain-s brat here. Akiza nodded. Okay Fullmetal, there are 5 main elements that ninja use. The bulk of our jutsu are derived from these elements. They are fire, water, wind, lightning, and earth. Naruto gave her a look. Yeah, I knew that. I'm not remedial Akiza. Akiza lightly tapped him on the head. Listen, to find out what type you are you just channel some chakra into this slip of paper. Akiza demonstrated as her paper turned to dust. If it crumbles like that it means earth, if it bursts into flames then it's fire, if it gets soggy then it's water, if it splits in half then it's wind, and if it crinkles up like a roach then it's lightning. Naruto grinned like a kid in a candy store as he caught the explanation. So you're earth. Akiza nodded. Yeah, I'm not too proficient at it. I haven't even delved into the manipulation training that much. I just tested for it so I knew which jutsu to focus on. Naruto channeled chakra into his own paper and watched as it split into 2 halves. So I'm wind. Is that good? Jiraiya took over from this point. It just means that you'll have an easier time learning and using some jutsu more than others. Akiza here is strong in Doton jutsu and is lacking when it comes to lightning. In your case you'll kick her at Futen jutsu and you'll suck at Kaiten jutsu. Naruto waved it off. So the Uchiha kid has a little advantage over me does he? Naruto grinned darkly causing Akiza and Jiraiya to subconsciously take a step away from him. Eyeing him warily Jiraiya continued. Alright then, well I have a bunch of jutsu scrolls from all elements because I didn't know what you'd be good at. I'll give you both some to work on and help you along. Now what exactly do you both do in battle? I need to know what kind of jutsu you know and what kind of ninja you think you are. Akiza thought for a moment. Well I'm more of a frontline fighter than anything. I try using my Naginator to overwhelm my enemies and have jutsu bolster my speed and strength to go along with that. I like working on combinations and attacks with it. From the beating Fullmetal gave me the first time we fought, I know that I suck at taijutsu, and I know a few ninjutsu in addition to the academy basics like Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu, Earth Release, Earth Dragon Jutsu, Tsuchi Bunshin no Jutsu, Mud Clone Jutsu, and Doton, Doryu Tiger, Earth Release, Great Mud River. My favorite jutsu though is Iwa no Yoroi, Stone Armor. That one makes me basically impervious to damage and makes me ridiculously strong. It even absorbs the minerals from the area around it to strengthen it, but it sucks to use because it wipes me out. Naruto see in, and it makes you sink like a rock. Akiza growled at Naruto when Jiraiya instructed him to begin. Okay. I am basically the embodiment of the frontline soldier, so much so that I resigned myself to the role of designated, human meat shield, on my Genin squad. I can take a hell of a beating before I drop. I noticed, Akiza dryly stated. Naruto continued on, ignoring her, and my speed and strength are way more than they used to be. Jiraiya see-in, rubbing his face, I noticed, he grumbled. Naruto smirked, as far as techniques, I have my alchemy that you all can't help with, so I'll move on. I have Akuma Ken, Devil Fist, Taijutsu that Big Boss taught me. It requires me to close the distance to keep my opponents from creating space to generate power strikes, and from there I use curving shots. He looked down in thought. I have the academy basics, Cage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu, Futen, Daytopper, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough, Suten, Suiruden no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Jutsu, Kuchio's no Jutsu, Summoning Jutsu, to summon toads, and Rasengan. I have Honor Jutsu, Kitsune Hakuten, Demon Technique, Fox Flash, but I'll tell Ero Senin how it works in private. Good thing Akiza forgot about it. Jiraiya waited for the kids to finish explaining their skills before smiling again. Well Gaki, you don't suck nearly as much as I thought you would. Looks like we have quite the springboard for you, and you look like you're getting big enough for me to spar with quite easily. That's great. Naruto grumbled at Jiraiya as he ruffled his hair. Jiraiya turned over to Akiza. I'm not very good at teaching girls taijutsu. If you want to learn that, then see if the brat can help you. However, I do have a special Doton jutsu that you won't find in those scrolls. If you're good and learn all I have for you, I'll teach you that among other things. Naruto entered into the conversation. You going to teach her Rasengan Ero Senin? Jiraiya began laughing. No, but that's hilarious, kid. Imagine if old Onoki caught wind of her using that move. He shook his head humorously. Akiza felt better than she had in quite a while and had some sprit in her step now. So, Jiraiya, sensei. Jiraiya smiled at her when she called him that. Where are we going now? Jiraiya pulled out a kunai and clanged it off of Naruto's automail. Hey. Watch the automail, you bastard. Jiraiya put his kunai up. This brat is too much less of a brat to go on without adjusting that arm of his for size. So we're going to reassemble to get him fixed up. While this kid is down and armless, I'll start Akiza on her training. Naruto growled. Why is she starting first? Akiza shoved him out of the way. Shut up, Fullmetal. You beat Maya twice already. I need to catch up. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. That's not really why, but hey, whatever works for you, I guess. Besides Naruto, you can work on your alchemy in the meantime, and I also have something special I want you to look into to see if you want me to teach you it. Naruto was confused until Jiraiya threw him a book, Fuinjutsu Theory for Beginners. Naruto looked up at the elder man. Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya grinned. So how much do you know about the sealing arts, kid? Oh, make. Letters from Konoha too. Dear Runt. It's me, Jushiro, but you probably already figured that out, right? Dude, you're famous. You're in the bingo book as an A class. Engage with extreme caution threat. A Wagakur has a 3 million Ryo bounty on you. Anyway, after the entire situation of being on the run with Guy and his creepily charismatic mini-me, how do I get off of Kakashi's S-list, by the way? That one-eyed glare starts to get to you after a while. I need some good old-fashioned R&R, most preferably in the form of some coitus with Haku-chan. Again, nothing that you'll probably ever know about. Sucks for you. Now where did I put my pack of rubbers? Explode for the power of contraceptives. I didn't just write that. It was in pen. I think I yelled that out loud too. Like I said, very charismatic. Anyway, stay alive and get back here so I can pick on you again. I need someone I can legally bully. OS, gotta go. Apparently I did yell that out loud and the browless father of the year was asleep next door. Sincerely, the armory alchemist, Jushiro Moyomoto. 4 days later, resemble. Naruto smiled as the familiar sight of the house on the top of the hills on the plains came into sight. Amid Jiraiya's cry of surprise, Naruto ran up to the front door and began banging on it, awaiting a response. His smile became a full-blown grin as he heard the footsteps from inside. All right, just hold on, I'll be there in a second. The door opened to reveal Winry, her irritable scowl replaced by excitement as she noticed that it was Naruto on her doorstep. She squealed as she pulled the younger boy into a hug. Naruto-kun, it's so good to see you again. What are you doing back here so soon? Naruto smirked as he stood straight up and waited for Winry to get the picture. She tilted her eyebrow until she realized that Naruto was almost eye to eye with her. She gaped at Naruto's growth. Naruto-kun, you're so much bigger now. Just a few months ago you were such a little thing. Naruto rubbed his nose. Well, I told you I wasn't going to stay short forever. And with this new size difference I need my automail adjusted for me. Can you help? Winry smirked at him. Can you pay? Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Well, I can't, but the guy coming up the road can. Winry looked to see Jiraiya and another person in tow. She simply shrugged at Jiraiya. He looked strange, but she'd reserved judgment. It was the other person that affected her. Even though it was dark when she saw her, Winry remembered her as the girl that had attacked Naruto. Winry raised a shaky finger as she pointed out at the road. Naruto followed her aim and palmed his forehead. Duh, Winry-chan saw me fight Akiza the first time. Naruto moved to calm Winry down. Winry-chan, just calm down. She isn't here to K me, or hurt anyone anymore, everything is alright, okay? Naruto placed his hands on her shoulders as she began to settle her breathing, which wasn't nearly as frantic by the time the rest of Naruto's group reached the door. Naruto took the time to introduce his companions. Okay, Winry-chan, the big guy with the white hair and lines on his face is Jiraiya. Jiraiya was about to break into his full-on introduction until Naruto spoke again, but you can just call him Ero-senin. I do. Jiraiya hit Naruto in the back of the head. You need to stop with that crap, brat. Naruto grumbled and turned his attention back to Winry, and this Winry-chan is Akiza Tamagawa. You've met, I'm sure. Naruto pointed at Akiza, who was smiling sheepishly at her. Apparently she remembered seeing Winry during the first fight also. Seeing Winry's remaining apprehension, Naruto nudged Akiza forward. Akiza chuckled nervously and sighed. I'm sorry I scared you all those months ago. I was after Fullmetal. It was just a mission, nothing personal. He's safe from me now though, which means you are too. Naruto see, she's telling the truth, Winry-chan. Just trust me, okay? If she still wanted to hurt me she would have had almost a month to do it by now. She gave Akiza a hard stare for a moment before waving her hand in a nonchalant manner. Ugh, fine. If he says it's okay then I guess it is. He was the one being attacked after all. She gave Naruto a withering glare. You'd better be sure about this. If this ends up in some kind of massive property damage then I swear to. Naruto backed up heatedly. I'm not going blow anything up. Honest. Jiraiya patted Naruto on the back. Don't make a promise you can't keep, Gaki. Winry quickly ushered them all inside, seeing as how the pleasantries were all made by this time. XXX. Ow. Winry-chan, why? Naruto cradled his head after Winry had gotten through checking up on the maintenance on his arm. The girl in question was holding a wrench in a threatening manner. Why? I've got a question for you. Why is your arm missing pieces of its metal inside? What do you keep doing to it? Naruto put his arms up in a flimsy defense. It was a technique. Lives were at stake, namely mine. I knew you could fix it so I went ahead and did it. I didn't use anything vital. This did not seem to placate her. Don't use it. It isn't a hunk of metal. This is a delicate piece of equipment. Naruto rubbed the bump on his head. Well, I can replace the metal if you gave me some scrap to carry with me. It might even help with overall maintenance. Winry thought about it and relented. Fine, you'll get it later. She walked away grumbling about stupid ninja that never listen. She returned with Pinako in tow and Naruto called for Jiraiya and Akiza to enter. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow as he saw the women position themselves around his right arm. What's up, Gaki? You need something. Naruto shook his head. No, Before breaking out into a grin, you guys want to see something cool. When Akiza and Jiraiya looked at him in confusion, Naruto signaled that he was ready. In a matter of seconds and a shout of pain, his automail had been disconnected from his shoulder. Jiraiya spoke up, well, that was gross. Akiza walked over and felt the empty space where his arm used to be. Isn't it sore or something? Kami, that looked painful. Naruto chuckled as he waved her off. It's fine. I'm used to it actually. It was nothing compared actually getting the surgery to connect the coupling in the first place. Naruto unconsciously shivered. If I ever have to do that again, I think I might just walk around with the stump. Jiraiya laughed. It couldn't possibly be that bad. Upon noticing all of the looks of those that experienced it in some way, his sweat dropped. Right. Naruto gave him a dry look. Sure, Ero-senin, just keep on thinking that. He looked at Akiza. If you want to know why I have such a high threshold for pain, then this is probably the most glaring reason. Dislocating your limb on a regular basis kind of does that for you. Naruto then looked over to Winry and Pinako. So how long? Note that I am in no way in any kind of rush whatsoever. Pinako looked over to Winry. If it's no rush, then I suppose 4 days. Naruto shrugged. 4 days it is then. I guess I'll just work on my new idea for my alchemy and start digging into that book on Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya lifted his hand. Is there some kind of prosthetic he can use or something so that he can train? Pinako opened her mouth until. No. Everyone looked at Naruto. Hell number. I already said I'm not wearing that piece of crap. Even if I did, I'd break it just going through my katas and working on my punches. It wouldn't last an hour. Jiraiya rubbed the bridge of his nose. Kid, how are you going to train with one arm? Naruto glared at him. I already told you how. I don't need to fight to train. As long as I don't let my muscles get used to doing nothing, and they won't, I'll be ready to jump right back into the real physical stuff when I get my arm back. Work with Akiza, you said you were going to anyway. Akiza's eyes lit up at the prospect of being trained by Jiraiya. If I was back in Iwa, would they K me out of anger for me being trained by Jiraiya-sensei or K me out of jealousy for being trained by Jiraiya-sensei? Jiraiya grinned. Well, that's settled. Now Miss Pinako. I have a proposition for you. If we could speak for a moment. Pinako gestured towards another room. Sure, why not? Winry sat down after the adults left the room. So, when are you going back to Konoha by the way? Akiza shook her head. I'm never stepping foot in that place. They'll K me on sight. Naruto sighed. No, they won't. How would they know that you're from Iwa? You lost your Hatei 8 during our fight, remember? And I don't think they have anything like that for Iwa ninja anyway. Besides, we aren't going back to Konoha anytime soon anyway. Winry looked confused. How long is anytime soon? Naruto laughed. 2 years. I'm on a training trip with Ero-senin and Akiza is tagging along for now. There was some unpleasantness and she can't go back to Iwa. Naruto then grumbled under his breath. Without K-me. Jiraiya was led back into the main room by Pinako. Well, Winry, it looks like we'll be having guests for a while. Jiraiya walked over to Naruto and Akiza. Alright kids, we'll be staying here for now while you two train. I worked out a little arrangement for us to be able to stay here until I decide it's time to move on. Naruto looked at Pinako, who had a grin on her face. Old lady Pinako, how much did he say he was going to pay you for this? All eyes fell on Pinako. Oh, it isn't that much. A sly smirk came on her face as she pulled out a check. All of the kids' eyes popped wide open as they looked at the amount. That's a lot of zeros. XXX. After dinner, Winry had been instructed to show them the room they could use while they stayed there. Upon heading upstairs to the room, Naruto realized something. You guys never bought another bed, did you? Winry stopped short of opening the door when she turned apologetically. No, sorry Naruto-kun. Naruto sighed as he followed her into the room. Turning back to Akiza to say he'd sleep on the floor, he noticed that she had walked past him to the bed and started placing her things on the side she had chosen. This will be fine, I guess. I mean, we shared a smaller bed back at that hotel when we were hurt. This one is way more spacious. Naruto opened his mouth and Akiza pointed back at him. You're not sleeping on the floor. Her tone made Naruto gulp and nod quickly as she left no room for any argument. Naruto went to drop his things on his side of the bed when he thought of something. Where's Ero-senin going to sleep? Jiraiya chose this moment to walk into the room. I'm taking the couch downstairs. It's no problem for me. You two are going to need a real bed for as hard as I'll be planning to work you when you get your arm back. Winry followed Jiraiya out of the room, but he soon appeared back in the doorway. Sweet dreams you two. Gaki, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Jiraiya's cackling could be heard all the way down the hall. Naruto palmed his forehead as Akiza left to head to the bathroom for the night. What does that mean, Fullmetal? Naruto just waved it off. Just go. I think that it's better you didn't know right now. You might try to K him, or me. Akiza just made an odd face as she left the room. Okay, whatever, geez you guys are weird. XXX. 7 weeks later. Time had passed with Jiraiya getting Akiza started on her training on the earth element and Naruto doing a whole lot of reading and sleeping for the first week, mostly reading, but there was still a hell of a lot of sleeping. The first thing Jiraiya had Akiza do was to attempt to crush a leaf with just her chakra. While this alone would not have been as strenuous as other forms of training, Jiraiya also had her naturally working on increasing her strength to go along with her elemental affiliation. Akiza had gone to Naruto bragging about how it would only be a matter of time before she was stronger than him. Naruto had countered by saying that he had more force in his left arm than in her entire body. Everybody in the house got a few chuckles off of seeing a one-armed boy sitting down hold back a girl pushing with all her might with only one arm, his non-dominant, non-mechanical arm. Jiraiya calmed Akiza down by saying that no matter what she did she might never gain as much raw strength as Naruto has. When they asked him what he did to get so strong, Naruto simply said, Big Boss's Junin-sensei was a monster. He had then gone through the explanation of how Joshiro's Genin team helped to train him when he was an academy student. Naruto spent the 4 days that he couldn't seriously train reading up on Fuinjutsu. He found that he took quite well to the art of sealing, seeing as how he was already used to advanced theories and spatial and time knowledge and of physical composition. It was mostly a matter of shifting base theories and applying them elsewhere for this. At the end of the week he had told Jiraiya that he wanted to learn more about Fuinjutsu, seeing as how he had an almost equally imaginative base in alchemy anyway. Speaking of alchemy, Naruto had made a new breakthrough a month into their stay in Resemble, one with explosive results. Flashback 3 weeks ago. Naruto had gathered everyone outside to see something. From the excited look on his face they were all at least intrigued by what could get him so excited. Naruto stood facing the entire group of people with a blinding smile that could give Guy or Lee a run for their money. Jiraiya broke up his creepy smile. Alright Gaki, you said you had something to show us. Well come on already, what do you have? Naruto pulled out an unspectacular-looking white glove and placed it on his left hand. Everyone's sweat dropped as he pulled it on tight. Akiza shook her head. Fullmetal, why are you putting on that flimsy white glove? Naruto's grin fell. Can someone give me a clone or some kind of target here? Akiza sighed and made him a Tsuchi Bunshin to use as a target. Naruto and the clone walked what he had figured to be a safe distance out before turning back to the crowd with a smirk. Lifting his gloved hand out he pointed it at the Bunshin and let out an audible snap. The next second the Bunshin had exploded into flames, sending fragments of rock and mud all over the place. Naruto turned around and let out an even more massive grin at the looks of astonishment on their faces. So come on, what do you got to say about that? End flashback. The explosion was a result of Naruto developing a glove made with an ignitable cloth that created sparks when he rubbed his fingers together. Naruto then took to manipulating the oxygen densities in his target area with his alchemy in order to create flames and fully manipulate them. Naruto claimed he had been working on this since he had become a genin, seeing as how no one ever got to teaching him any kaiten jutsu and having been forced to watch Sasuke spamming flames left and right, and had been inspired to complete it after learning that his elemental affinity would have left him at a natural disadvantage towards learning them anyway. He couldn't wear them throughout entire fights seeing as the material for the gloves were delicate and that he could easily rip them in just an overly intense taijutsu spar. When others felt them they saw that they were rather thin. Everyone noticed the odd circle on the back and asked about it, having never seen him use a transmutation circle before. Naruto explained that the circles were the basis of e-alchemy and that he hadn't had to use them in a while, but put it on the glove since clapping to generate a transmutation and then snapping his fingers would have been redundant. Akiza sat on the porch of the house with her chin in her hands while watching Naruto spam flames just for the hell of it. That's just great Fullmetal. As if you weren't strong enough, now you can make fire from thin air. I can barely crush a damn leaf and you can snap your fingers and set me on fire. Naruto looked at her and grinned. Sometimes you've got to work smarter, not harder. And I don't know what you're on about. Be about your element. The next thing I have to do is split a rock in half with my chakra. All you have to do is crumble it. Naruto took off his glove and picked up the rock Jiraiya gave him. After focusing on it for about a minute, a small S appeared on the rock. Naruto grumbled and held it up to Akiza. See, this is not going to see it, literally. Akiza sighed. Why did you have to get the cool, rare element? I just got boring old earth. Naruto rolled his eyes. Well, I don't know, maybe because you're from the village hidden in the rocks. The majority of you guys in Tsuchi no Kuni are earth types apparently. Akiza gave him a half glare. And what about you with your wind? You should have fire if that's your logic. You live in High no Kuni, Mr. Land of Fire. Naruto shrugged. I'm just awesome like that, I guess. Akiza stood up and stretched herself out. So where's Jiraiya-sensei anyway? He's been gone for a day or two. Naruto stood with her, trying to not notice her vest rise up when she stretched back. Ero Sennin said he was going off to meet with some people near Kusagakure. That's quite a ways away, and knowing him, he'll get caught up in something on the way back, so don't expect to see him around for a while. I wonder how long he'll be gone. Akiza thought for a moment, though he did leave us enough stuff to keep us occupied for a while. Naruto grumbled, screw that, if he leaves me here for another 6 months I'm going to kick his ass when he drags himself back here, good company or not. Akiza giggled at the scowl on his face as she headed inside the house. You're not too bad yourself, Fullmetal. Better than being alone, that's for sure. Naruto watched her leave and then turned his attention back to his training. Goddamn rock. Split you bastard, split. XXX. 3 months later. Jiraiya had been gone for a long time, long enough that Naruto had to summon a few toads to even find out whether or not he was still alive. During this time he and Akiza had still not completed the next step of their elemental training, but they were in no real rush. Instead of solely focusing on what Naruto had called the boring a rock thing, he and Akiza had begun to develop teamwork and combinations at her behest. Her reasoning being that they were living together and training together, so why not learn how to fight together? They didn't work as a very conventional team, as they had learned through session after session of hordes of Cage Bunshin to develop their style. They were both frontline fighters, so they developed a style that had them weaving in and out of each other's way and covering one another's blind spots. Due to the fact that they practiced by beating the crap out of tons of Bunshin, their style was roughly Akiza trying to root herself down, see down enemies with swings of her halberd, while Naruto jumped around her attacks, defending her and taking out enemies beyond the basic range of her reach before jumping back into her guard and repeating the process until everything else was S. This worked on multiple enemies. Not so much when it was 2-on-1 as they aptly recognized, but at that point they had enough confidence in their solo abilities that a 1-on-1 fight wasn't much of a disadvantage. Around this time Naruto and Akiza started seeing each other, not as former adversaries put together out of necessity, but as actual partners. Being with someone for almost every waking moment for over 9 months will do that to you. Sleeping in the same bed doesn't really hurt either on that front. Akiza learned that Naruto's ultimate dream was to be Hokage, so that he could get the respect of his village, and to make sure that no one in the village had to live like he had to live, constantly watching their back lest they lose a limb, ever again. Naruto had pressed her into telling him what her dream for the future was, but was slightly disheartened when he learned that she didn't have a dream. She didn't really have an ambition or an underlying reason to want to be a ninja. She did it because it was either be a ninja, or fade out into the streets. Naruto, Akiza, Winry, and Pinako were seated around the dinner table after just finishing a meal. Winry had finally gotten over the battle that Akiza and Naruto had over a year ago and was taking an effort to get to know something about the girl. When the question had come up about her dream, the answer was somewhat saddening. Naruto frowned as he looked at Akiza. So being a ninja wasn't really a dream of yours or anything? You didn't have any goals that being a ninja could help with? Akiza shook her head. No. Other than keeping me off of the streets and giving me a way to make a living, there wasn't really any reason for me to do it. I graduated at 10 instead of 12 like you, Fullmetal. I was just sick of being overlooked. Akiza looked at everyone else and sighed. Being something other than a ninja in Iwa is damn difficult for orphans. The reason so many Iwa ninja hate Konoha is because they were orphans, so many of their parents were killed during the Third Great Ninja War. It left a surplus of kids with nothing. Most merchants are family monopolized, all the jobs and everything run in the family. It's hard for people like me to do anything but be a ninja. Pinako nodded sagely. An entire generation of war orphans, with a grievance against an entire village. That doesn't sound too good for the future. Winry nodded in agreement. It sounds kinds of scary, like it's all just one big powder keg waiting for a spark. She shivered visibly. You ninja live scary lives. Akiza rested her head on her arms on the table. Yeah, it can be. We just tend to ignore that kind of stuff until it's time to start paying attention. Winry wrinkled her nose. That doesn't sound too safe, or smart, or even mildly logical. Naruto shrugged. Blame politics. You'd be surprised how close the entire continent comes to coming to blows on a regular basis. Just another thing I'm going to have to deal with as Hokage. XXX. 1 month later, Naruto had spent the entire day training by himself. It wasn't that he had a chip on his shoulder or anything, he wasn't mad today. It was that he couldn't find anyone long enough to actually talk to them. Whenever he saw Winry or Pinako, they would just swiftly end whatever conversation he tried with them and up and vanish. Jiraiya still hadn't come back from Kusa yet, and it was starting to piss Naruto off. Being gone for almost another 6 months was making him antsy. He knew from when he summoned Gamakichi and the others to work with them that Jiraiya was fine, but they weren't telling him any more on his location or condition than that, opting to leave the blonde demon container in the dark for the time being. Akiza, he really couldn't explain why she was so hard to find. He hadn't seen her since the sun had come up that morning, as if she had disappeared after he exited the bathroom that day. This was somewhat disconcerting to him, seeing as how he had seen her every day for almost a year and now she was gone. He took that day's training a decent distance away from the house so that he could work on a few more destructive techniques that he rarely got a chance to practice. Ambling home slowly as the sun began to fall, he hopped up to the front step he headed on indoors to end his day. Naruto entered the house and noticed that no lights were on. Ugh, I've been gone all day and nobody is still here. He yawned and lazily slinked into the kitchen for a drink. Surprise. AAHH. Naruto transmuted his arm blade and stood in a ready stance looking around rapidly. Who wants some? Laughter that broke out around the room calmed him down as Winry walked him over to the table in the dining room. Happy birthday, Naruto-kun. Naruto sat down dumbfounded. Birthday. Wah. Naruto looked around confused. What is today's date? Pinako calmly walked over with a small smile on her face. It's October 10th, kid. You know, your birthday. Naruto looked befuddled as a cake was placed in front of him. Looking up, he saw Akiza smiling at him. Cheer up, Fullmetal, it's your birthday all right. Seriously, brat, did you really think no one else knew about your birthday? Jiraiya sauntered into the room with a grin on his face. Naruto growled, Ero Senin. Where the hell have you been for so long? Jiraiya got a serious look on his face. I went to get some information on Akatsuki kid. When he saw Naruto's face, he backtracked. It's not anything that's too vital right now, I'll tell you later. Naruto nodded just as gifts were shoved in his face. In the meantime, enjoy yourself, brat. You're 14 now. XXX. 4 months later, elemental training was going along for the kids at a regular pace. Both Akiza and Naruto had reached the point where they could utilize the third step of mastering their elements. Naruto had hit a brick wall, however, as his step was to split a waterfall with his wind chakra. Akiza could work on hers, however, she simply had to split the earth. She could do that anywhere. So Naruto began to study Fuinjutsu more fervently than before, and had even shocked Jiraiya with a few of his more cavalier ideas. He wasn't anywhere near good enough to put them into practice, but the ideas he was having got Jiraiya somewhat excited. He had taken to making his own exploding tags, flash tags, and etc., forcing Jiraiya to give him a step up in his studies, which led to Naruto new ideas that he had yet to put into practice. Naruto's clothes had changed by this time. He had to ditch his other clothes due to him grossly outgrowing them. His new outfit consisted of black shinobi sandals, black pants, and a black long-sleeved shirt. The shirt and pants both had white trim. Pretty much Ed's outfit from Fullmetal Alchemist through a lot of the series. Akiza hadn't changed her outfit at all, Unless you call the Junin vest she wore showing even more than it did before as a wardrobe change. Her natural strength had increased considerably since her second fight with Naruto. She still paled in comparison of raw strength when it came to Naruto, but her own strength was considerable enough for Jiraiya to comment on it. Naruto and Jiraiya had found her a style of hand-to-hand combat that mostly consisted of kicks. It was almost the antithesis of Naruto's Akuma Ken in that she had to keep her opponents on her outer range in order for her kicks to get the range of motion to deal damage, but it was effective for her. Jiraiya had taught her a jutsu of his own creation after she had finished learning the jutsu from her Earth Scroll. He chose to teach her Doton, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld, which after all of her elemental training she had little trouble getting down. Naruto's Wind Scroll didn't have as many jutsu on it, but he had other methods of fighting that he could work on and master in the meantime. Jiraiya's favorite form of enjoyment over this period of time took place maybe 1 or twice a week. It came in the form of beating either Naruto or Akiza down in the dirt, usually in front of the entire small town of Resemble, who eventually started coming to investigate the explosions that took place like clockwork every week at the Rockbell's home. He never fought them together, having learned that lesson the hard way, in front of everybody. During one of Jiraiya's insatiable needs to showboat, he allowed Naruto and Akiza to fight him at the same time. This resulted in him having to dodge and survive for almost an entire hour, not allowing them to hit any finishing blows, but with the intensity of their he didn't get out unscathed. After he had subdued them both due to experience and finally getting serious and choosing to put excessive force that broke several of Naruto's ribs, and cracked his femur, and had given Akiza a relevant concussion, he elected to stay away from fighting them both at the same time. Ever again, it wasn't worth the style points. He had let Naruto in on the fact that his time in Kiri had thrown a monkey wrench into Akatsuki's plans. Kei Yagura during the rebellion had released the Sanbi back into the world, but it would take time, extra time for it to amass enough power to reform itself physically in this plane of existence. It still ranged around the time for Naruto to finish training, but he found it hilarious that he could mess with Akatsuki in any way. XXX. 2 months later. Alright, it's time to move out, you guys. Jiraiya had told Naruto and Akiza that it was about time for them to move out. They had spent about a year in Resemble and Jiraiya wanted Naruto to get more worldly experience before it was time to return to Konoha. Naruto and Akiza gave the goodbyes to Winry and Pinako, thanking them for putting up with them and the perpetual risk for property damage for a year, before following Jiraiya down the country road, leaving the village. Akiza looked over at Naruto. Hey Fullmetal, how is your SEAL project going? Naruto shook his head in the negative. You could say it works, I just can't really use it. Not on myself at least, or any person. Akiza looked confused. You just said it works, and then you just said it doesn't work. It can't do both, which one is it? Naruto chuckled. I'll just have to show you when we take a decent stop. It's not really healthy for me to use. Come on, let's go. Naruto bounded up to Jiraiya, excited to get back on the road again. So Ero Sennin, where are we going next? Akiza also ran up to him, curious also. Jiraiya pulled out a map. We're heading up to Kumogakure next. The Raikage has a nice little proposition that I think is rather interesting. You two might have a good time up there. It's around time for the Chunin exams and they're being held there. Naruto got a grin on his face. Well, that does sound fun. Watching other genin beat the crap out of each other rather than be one of the genin getting the crap beat out of them. I think I like it. Naruto nudged Akiza. How about you? Sound like fun? Akiza rubbed her arm with a smile on her face. Yeah, why not? It's not like I have anywhere else to go, right? Naruto shook his head. Alright, if you're going to keep hanging out with me, you're gonna have to say that you don't stay around with us just because you can. You stay with us because you love our company. Akiza waved it off. Whatever Fullmetal, you're just being delusional. Naruto's eye twitched. You don't stick around for a year if you don't like the people you're with. Admit it, you like hanging around us. Akiza put her finger to her mouth in a thinking fashion. Well, Jiraiya-sensei does have some good things to teach me. I mean, what ninja wouldn't want to learn from a legendary figure like him? Naruto's twitch got worse. How about me? I'm the reason you're here anyway. She kept up her clueless facade. Well, I guess you are good for all of those cage bunchin that make good targets, tendencies or not. Good targets are good targets. Naruto pulled at his hair. For the last time, my clones are not S. They just lack a healthy respect for the human condition. Akiza nodded. Oh, so they're just sociopathic. Naruto growled and sighed. You know what? Sure, let's just go with that. Akiza gave him a victorious look that forced him to run his fingers through his hair. This girl is going to drive me up the wall. This is going to be a long trip. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.